So we're going to talk about the job ad research assignments. It's basically one assignment, but I thought a while about what subtitles to use. So real data, real goals seemed good, if a bit cliched and silly and cheesy. Getting a job is just something you should know. How do I know what they want is what students come to me and ask, particularly when they haven't gotten hired and haven't heard back. Finally figuring it out is where I hope you will be on this assignment, and maybe this does make sense at the end of the assignment. So you will create two documents for the assignment. One is job ad data. This is where you store all your copy and pasted information. It might be more than 20 pages. The other document is your memo, a one-page memo where you summarize your data, you talk about the trends that you found, and you apply it to your life. You're going to use all the business communication skills, the things you've read about, the things we've practiced in class, the things we've talked about, the conversations that you've had about your proposal. They should all go into this memo. And that should help you better understand how to plan for not just your targeted resume and cover letter and internships and full-time jobs you're going to be applying for, but how to approach your jobs and career and know what's valuable and what to do when you can't figure out what's valuable. You can go through this process again at different points in your life. So the initial work, you're going to assess yourself and you're going to identify your needs and wants. So who are you and what's your internship situation? What have you learned so far? What's on your resume? What needs to be on your resume? And what's your job timeline? And when you think about this, also think about the life that you want to live. What do you want to do? So determine short-range, mid-range, and long-range time periods that you can look for jobs in. Now, I give you a lot of leeway here. So your short-term, your short-range could be now. An internship that you're looking at now, it could be 2 years from now or a year and a half from now when you're looking for that first full-time job. Your mid-range, if you think that within 2 or 3 or 4 years you're going to be switching jobs and you really want to look there for your next job, that's okay with me. But it could also be a 7 or 8 year job, 7 or 8 years away. What job do you want to aim for in the next 5 to 7 years? And then long range time periods. If you're in IT, then maybe your time period is going to be now, an internship you look for in the spring, in the fall perhaps, and your mid-range might be 3 or 4 years from now, and your long range might be 10 years from now. And you can also, as you gather data, change or restructure these timelines based on what you find as far as the amount of experience people want in your industry in order to move around. So lots of things feed into how you decide what your short-range, mid-range, and long-range time periods are. And if you want to add more time periods, that's okay with me. So you can do more in-depth research, and that might benefit you. Then you'll begin searching. So how does the searching work? Well, you want to have a sense of what job titles you're looking at and what they mean in your industry. What companies do you want to work for? Are you set on a particular job type, or is there a company that you would love to work for? Are you a startup person? Are you somebody who wants to work in a corporate environment? And where do you want to work? What location is important to you? So realize that if you're going to compare jobs, locations play a big role, the type of companies. If you were looking for a Big Four accounting firm versus a mid-range accounting firm or a small shop, those all need to be compared to each other, not across. So you need to have enough data to compare. And consider salaries. Now you're going to have to look up the salaries. They will not necessarily, usually, be in the job ads. So do additional research. Look at the activities associated with the job, the software and programming expectations, and the role or roles. So when you begin the search, where do you look? There are all sorts of options. Indeed, Career Builder, Google Jobs, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, LinkUp, and of course UTD's HireJSON powered by Handshake. Now the nice thing about UTD and our search, you can apply through UTD, and employers frequently search for our students even when you're not actively seeking a job. So keep your resume up to date so that they can get a job book. So when they request, they can use search terms and they actually literally get a job book. They get, 50 resumes of the people who best fit their requirements. So you might get a phone call for a job you never applied for from a great company, and they'll call you in and want to interview you. This is great because you're already here at UTD, you're on campus, it's easy, and you know that these companies have basically been vetted most of the time. So if you do find a job on someplace like monster.com, your next step is to look on the company websites for the job listings. So do not tell someone that you found the job on monster.com. Look at their company website and find the job that they list as they list it and tell them you are interested in the company, you had heard something about it, and you looked on their website and saw the job ad. And then apply using that information. Store and organize your job ad data. So anytime you get a big document, you want to organize it using the best criteria you have. So copy and paste your information. If you're in Word, you can Control-Alt-V and select unformatted text, and then you can get it without all the extras. It'll just be text paste. Put the URL or the process you need to go through to find that job again. Find the salaries. So do additional work to find the salaries. Where do you do that? Someplace like Glassdoor, or there's some other options where you can look at typical salaries for that area, the job title. Then read reviews of the company. You want to know as much as possible about this company and this job. You're going to apply styles if you really want to make things easier on yourself. So if you're in Word, you can apply styles like heading 1, heading 2, and then that makes it easy to just insert a table of contents, a TOC. And you can make notes. So if you found salaries, if you've read reviews, if you talked to someone or networked with someone, you can put it all there together. And that way, if you're sitting at home and you get a phone call and you need to call up that information in the job ad, everything will be right there together. And the nice thing about the table of contents that Google or Microsoft Word will frequently create for you is often they're clickable. So you can just click on number 7 and it'll take you to page 22 and that job ad, so you'll have it right in front of you. So obviously, what do you list? If you're creating a list, job titles, companies, locations, you're going to have the salaries, you're going to note the requirements, preferences, and responsibilities. Then you will create the table if you need a table, or maybe you just are operating from the list and creating a table elsewhere, or however you're going to organize your information. It's different for everyone. You will have a different search than many other people. Then here's where, number 5, compare. This is where you really show that you're the type of person who will do a good job in a corporation, in a company. You need to use your problem solving and critical thinking skills and ask yourself, do I have enough data? Can I make a clear comparison? If I have one job from California, from the Silicon Valley, I have one job from Chicago, I have a job from New York, and I have 2 jobs from Dallas. These are not comparable. You might have, and I request that you have 3 to 5 positions, but that means, that's a basis for comparable positions. These, because of the location, the salaries aren't really comparable. Now you might still gain information from this, but you would want to deep dive into at least one area. So get 3 or 4 from one particular area and then do the others as comparisons. And if you're thinking about changing coasts, you can expand your search and just explain that in your memo. Then identify your goals. You've looked at these jobs, you've made comparisons, and now you're going to edit and refine. You're going to remove wordy sentences and get your keywords and make sure this is easy to glance at. So for the memo itself, which is our second document, you'll write an overview. What do you want to achieve? What's your time period? What decisions did you make about gathering data, and what sources did you use? You'll incorporate that list or table that you've been building. Maybe you have both. Maybe you have a list and a table. It depends on how you organize your information. You'll trim the excess. This is a challenge. Getting everything on one document, on one page, is very difficult. Yes, I know, it needs to be one page. You'll identify your goals, and that can be as easy as an asterisk next to goals that you have put as things you want to achieve on the table. And then you'll edit and refine. Have other people look at this. Have them skim through it. So to the right here, you can see a sample memo format. You're sending this to me. You'll have your name, the current date, and then you might have whatever your subject line is that will succinctly summarize what you've created and what you've done. So here's an example of a table that's being built, and we have these job ads. And I'm not going to require you to cite them in APA because I can go look at the originals on your job ad data document. This is important for you to get in the habit of keeping that information, as we know, because frequently companies take down the job ad once they have enough applicants. However, if we're looking at this data, how do we get to the point where we can make a comparison and determine if this is good data? Well, look for trends. So let's compare. We have Google, which is a big company, better known than any of these other companies, and it's in California, whereas the other 4 companies are in Texas. So this is not really a great comparison if I desperately want to go to California. I don't have a good sense of what's going on here. But I can take this a little further and start looking at what I need more of and why this is important. So I look at the job titles, and I notice that one of these job titles doesn't fit. We have data analyst, business analyst, data analyst, senior business analyst. We have 4 analyst positions, and we have 1 associate position. And the lower range of the salaries, when I looked it up for associate positions, is $29,000. Well, what does that mean? Typically, it means, in this case, that the word associate is often used for people who do administrative or receptionist work. So you're going to have the lower end of the spectrum, and that's something you want to think about because most people who have the job title of associate are not necessarily going to be doing the type of work that an analyst would do. So it might hamper your career prospects if you take this job. Now, this might not be a typical analyst position anyway, but it is atypical of an associate position. You're doing coding and Q&A, testing, and problem solving for a piece of software here. So, you know, this is not typical. It might be a good opportunity, but it's definitely not necessarily comparable to some of these others. So what else are we looking for? We're looking for years of experience. Well, 3 of these want a certain number of years of experience, and that could feed into how you decide to look at short-term, mid-range, and long-term goals. Then, if we look at exactly what they want you to know, 3 out of these 5 want you to have SQL or some level of SQL knowledge, and they want, you know, database tools, querying skills. So you probably want to build this into your plan. This is something I would definitely highlight as a goal if you don't have it already. What else can you note? That you will probably want to, 2 of these have writing test scripts, writing code. You're going to probably want to know how to do that to some extent in at least 1 language. And knowing R up here, Python and MATLAB, they want it. Okay, so now we're looking at salaries. So we have 3 of these positions in the Dallas area that all have the same cap, or a very similar cap on their salaries. And then in California, it's 140, and even that is pretty low. So they have 43 to 140. In California, you can live in a parking lot and make $140,000 a year. So why is this relatively low? Well, it's a good salary, but it's below $100,000. So my bet is, and this would be something you might want to ask someone who's in an analyst position, that to get over $100,000, you need to be a manager. So you would need to manage other business analysts. So that's something to think about in your mid-range goals. So this is the beginning of a journey. You've seen me walk through a few of the stages that you might go through as you analyze how important your data is and what it tells you. And that will allow you to go back and look at more data and gather more information and reset your goals and make some conclusions. Do some evaluation. Really think about how you present yourself and what you highlight on your resume. So I hope this helps. You are on a journey, and you're very important and amazing people. you are going to change the world. You're going to do some incredible things. You're going to live good lives. And we want you to have all the options possible. So don't box yourself in, and look ahead and plan ahead so that you can live your best life. Thanks. Bye.